They tried to silence your brilliance, dim your intensity, and mute the undeniable energy that only you bring into this world. But what they didn't realize is that you were never meant to blend in, never meant to shrink, never meant to be small. You are a wild flame, raw, untamed, eternal. You were never just a spark. You've always been a blazing force of divine origin. The attempts to extinguish you weren't about you being wrong. They were proof of your power. Because when you walk into a room, the air shifts. When you speak, truth vibrates. And when you rise, you remind others of their own dormant greatness. They couldn't handle your light, so they tried to dull it. They couldn't match your fire, so they tried to douse it. And yet, here you are, still glowing, still growing, still destined. Chosen one, your fire is not just heat. It's transformation. It's illumination. It's a sacred force meant to pierce through the darkest corners of this world. That's why you were attacked, not because you were weak, but because your power unsettled what was stagnant. As you watch this video, I invite you to stay until the end and let this message light up something that's been buried. And in the comments, drop your warmest wishes and type 77 to ignite a chain of manifestations across the universe. Let the fire inside you stir the cosmos. This is a chapter about wishes coming true, and you are the very energy that makes it possible. You've likely noticed the pattern by now. Whenever you begin to rise, when things start aligning, when you feel joy, when you claim your truth, that's when the resistance shows up. Not because you're failing, but because you're succeeding. You've been under fire, but not from the world alone. There's a deeper test at play. Your soul is being shaped by fire, not destroyed by it. Think of every setback, every betrayal, every silent night you cried and no one saw. They were all chiseling you into the unshakable force you are now. Others might burn out under pressure, but you rise from it, again and again. That's the mark of the chosen. You've walked through flames that would have melted others. You've carried the weight of expectation and isolation in silence. You've been the black sheep, the outlier, the misunderstood force. And yet, you didn't fold. That speaks volumes. It means your fire isn't just emotional. It's elemental. It's part of your makeup. They didn't give it to you, so they can't take it away. And every time they tried, you rose brighter, fiercer, more unapologetic. This is the rebirth. This is the moment when your fire is no longer hidden, but embraced. Chosen one, your energy was never meant to fit within the lines. You are here to redraw them. You are not just alive. You are activation in human form. People who have tried to minimize you were only reflecting their inability to handle such intensity. Don't mistake their rejection for a reflection of your worth. The very fact that they tried to suppress you is proof that you were already radiating something too real to be ignored. You didn't come here to be liked. You came here to lead. And wild flames don't beg for space. They blaze a trail and create it. Now is your time to remember who you are beneath all the labels, masks, and fear. The world told you to be smaller, quieter, safer. But your soul? Your soul whispered of mountains to climb, oceans to cross, truths to speak. Your fire is the instrument of your mission, and that mission is awakening, first in yourself, then in others. There is someone out there right now being awakened by the energy you refuse to dim. You didn't need to convince anyone. You only needed to keep burning. It's exhausting though, isn't it? To always have to push past projections, to always be misunderstood, to always carry wisdom that others fear. But that exhaustion is not weakness. It's evidence of the battles you've survived. You weren't just fighting people. You were breaking patterns, ending generational curses and disrupting systems of limitation. You stood in fire not to be consumed, but to become more conscious, to become more aware of your purpose, your vision, your non-negotiable truth. That is what they tried to strip from you. But fire doesn't forget its nature. What they failed to realize is that your wildness was never recklessness. It was wisdom unchained. You weren't being rebellious just to defy. You were honoring a rhythm that's ancient and divine. The reason you don't conform is because you remember deep in your bones that your path has never been walked before. You are here to do what hasn't been done, to ignite what's never been lit, and sometimes that means being misunderstood. But you've learned to live with that. You've stopped chasing validation and started creating vibrations. That's what makes you untouchable. NTHE world is shifting, and your fire is needed more than ever. It's the warmth in the cold, the light in the shadow, the signal in the chaos. You are the torchbearer for those still lost in darkness. And make no mistake, the attacks on your light won't stop completely. But now, you know what they really are. Not signs of your failure, but indicators of your impact. You are shaking foundations. You are rewriting narratives. You are proof that being different is divine. And those who tried to dim you will eventually have to watch you shine. Stay rooted in your flame. Stay fierce in your love. Stay unapologetic in your expression. Because every time you do, you reclaim your soul from the systems that told you to hide it. You are not here to be digestible. You are here to be undeniable. So burn, chosen one. Burn wildly. Burn brightly. Burn with the full permission of your divine identity. You've been taught to fear your own brilliance, conditioned to believe that being too passionate, too intense, too different was a flaw. That if you stood out, you'd be cast out. That if you told your truth, you'd be alone. But chosen one, you are not here to be palatable. You're here to be powerful. The very traits they tried to condition out of you, your emotions, your boldness, your inner knowing, those are the exact gifts that make you a force in this world. You were born to be loud in your truth, vibrant in your expression, and magnetic in your purpose. You've likely been in spaces where your energy made others uncomfortable. And not because you did something wrong, but because your authenticity challenged their illusions. You've walked into rooms and felt eyes shift, voices quiet, people withdraw. That wasn't rejection. That was recognition. They saw in you what they had buried in themselves. You reminded them of what they had silenced, what they had been taught to suppress. And rather than rise with you, they tried to bring you down to their level of comfort. But you were never meant to shrink. You are here to disrupt the narrative that says being spiritual means being small. You are the living proof that sacredness can be fierce. NTHE people who tried to dim your fire weren't always enemies. Sometimes they were people you loved. Family, friends, teachers, mentors. People who, out of their own fear, projected their limitations onto you. They weren't trying to destroy you. They were trying to protect themselves from what they couldn't understand. But the impact remains. Their words echoed in your head for years. Their judgments shaped your confidence. Their doubts became your inner critic. And yet, despite all of it, you never stopped burning. That's resilience. That's the mark of someone born to transcend, not conform. And every time you silenced yourself to fit in, a part of your soul cried out. Every time you ignored your intuition to avoid conflict, your fire dimmed just a bit. But even at your lowest, even in moments of despair, your flame never went out. You kept the ember alive. And now, it's becoming a wildfire, not one of destruction, but of revelation. You're realizing that the path to your highest self isn't paved with perfection. It's forged in fire. Every scar is sacred. Every burn was a lesson. And now, your light is no longer optional. It's essential. You are not here to be saved. You are here to remember. Remember your worth. Remember your voice. Remember the times you were silenced and swore you'd never forget how that felt. That memory fuels you now. You are not operating from revenge. You are moving from remembrance. You are becoming the version of yourself you needed when you were younger. The one who doesn't apologize for taking up space. The one who speaks and the earth listens. That version is no longer a dream. It's your destiny unfolding in real time. And yes, being this awakened comes with a cost. You see things others miss. You feel deeply. You know what's real, even when everyone's pretending. It can be isolating, but that's the space where your soul expands. In the silence, you found clarity. In the dark, you discovered your light. And in your solitude, you heard your spirit speak. You now realize that loneliness wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was the universe pulling you out of the noise so you could ignite from within. Because a wild flame doesn't beg to be seen. It learns to shine in its own solitude until the world can't help but notice. NT-hoes who tried to suppress you underestimated your resilience. They thought that if they ignored you long enough, you'd dim yourself to be loved. But what they didn't expect was that the more you were left in the dark, the more your soul adjusted to shine on its own. You stopped waiting for a stage and became your own platform. You stopped begging for love and became your own source. You stopped dimming to be chosen and remembered. You already are the chosen one. NTHE fire within you is sacred. It's been passed down from lifetimes before this one. You were never ordinary. You've always carried the codes of transformation. And that's what scares people. Your presence brings change. Not because you demand it, but because your essence activates it. People either rise in your light or retreat from it. That's not your burden to carry. You don't have to water yourself down to be accepted. You are here to be fully felt, fully expressed, and fully alive. Chosen one, it's time to stop hiding the parts of you that were born to be celebrated. The wildness in you is not chaos. It's clarity. It's the energy that shakes loose all that's stagnant. It's the voice that breaks generational silence. It's the vision that builds what's never existed before. You weren't born to follow a path. You came to create one. And every time you honor your truth, you leave a trail of light for others to find their way back home. NSO, no, you are not too much. You are not too emotional, too intense, too sensitive. You are exactly as you were designed to be, on purpose, with purpose. The world needs your fire, not just for warmth, but for awakening. And the moment you truly embody this, everything around you begins to shift. Opportunities appear, relationships evolve, fear dissolves. Because the universe doesn't respond to who you pretend to be, it responds to who you truly are. And when that version of you shows up, nothing and no one can dim your flame. You've always known there was something different about you. Even as a child, you sensed the world in ways others couldn't. You noticed the small shifts in energy, felt the emotions others hid behind their smiles, and questioned things most people accepted without a thought. You weren't trying to rebel. You were trying to understand, trying to make sense of a world that often felt upside down. That depth of awareness was never random. It was the first sign of your flame. And while others were learning how to fit in, you were learning how to survive in a world that wasn't designed for someone like you. NBUT survival was never your end goal. You didn't come here just to get by. You came here to awaken, to remember your power, to ignite what has been dormant. So the path you've walked has never been easy, but it's always been intentional. Every time life pushed you down, it was testing your rise. Every time someone tried to snuff you out, They were unknowingly stoking the fire inside you. Pain didn't break you, it built you. And now, that same pain has become your passion, your clarity, your fuel. You're stepping into a chapter where your fire is no longer a burden. It's a blessing. What once made you feel isolated now makes you magnetic. People are starting to feel your presence before you speak. They're drawn to your authenticity, your courage, your unapologetic light. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. You've stopped pretending, stopped minimizing, stopped apologizing for being someone who burns with purpose. And that's what makes you unstoppable. There are still those who won't understand you. They'll label your passion as aggression, your emotions as instability, your vision as delusion. But don't take their projections personally. It's not about you. It's about their discomfort with someone who no longer seeks permission to exist. They've spent so long dimming their own light that your fire feels like a threat. But you are not here to make others comfortable. You are here to spark something inside them, even if it's through resistance. Sometimes, people have to feel the heat before they recognize the warmth. You don't owe the world your silence. You don't owe anyone a softer version of yourself. The very things you were told to suppress are the things that make you powerful. Your voice disrupts illusions. Your fire burns through the lies. Your truth liberates. And yes, that kind of energy can shake people. But the ones who are meant for you, your tribe, your soul family, they will not only stand beside your fire, they will celebrate it. They'll feel inspired to light their own. It's time to redefine what power looks like. It's not control, it's not domination, it's the courage to stay open, to be vulnerable in a world that glorifies numbness, to speak even when your voice trembles, to walk away when something dishonors your spirit. Power is choosing your peace over their approval. It's knowing you can burn bridges that lead nowhere and still trust that new paths will appear. You are that powerful. You always have been. It's just now you're finally starting to believe it. You didn't lose anything when you stopped fitting in. You found yourself. You found your center. You stopped chasing and started choosing. You stopped explaining and started expressing. That shift was everything. Because you're no longer reacting to the world. You're creating within it. You've become the fire starter, the soul awakener, the one who transforms not through force, but through frequency. And the people who once overlooked you? They'll come back, drawn by the very flame they couldn't handle. NBUT, don't wait for their recognition. Don't dim your flame just to make your return more palatable. This isn't a performance, it's a declaration. You are no longer seeking seats at tables that were never built for you. You're building your own. And those who recognize your light will find you, not because you reached for them, but because you stayed true to yourself. That's the beauty of authenticity. It doesn't chase, it attracts. Let's be honest, there were moments you almost gave up. Moments where the fire felt like a burden, where the loneliness was deafening, where the weight of being different was too much to carry. But you didn't give in. You didn't extinguish yourself to blend in with the shadows. You kept going, even when it hurt, even when it was hard. And that's what makes you chosen. Not perfection, not ease, but persistence. You kept your flame alive when there was no one else around to protect it. And now, it's lighting the way for others. This world needs your kind of fire, the sacred fire, the transformative fire, the fire that destroys illusions and rebuilds truths. You're not just here to warm others, you're here to awaken them, to call forth the greatness they've buried beneath fear and conformity. Your life is a mirror, a catalyst, a prophecy fulfilled. When people witness your light, they remember their own. so don't you dare dim it. Not now, not ever. You are not the flicker. You are the flame. The wildfire, the divine blaze that cannot be contained. Let the world adjust to your light. Let them feel your presence and be changed by it. Because when you stand in your full truth, you don't just survive, you ignite. And everything around you becomes a little more alive because of it. You've been rising in silence for a long time, working in the shadows, healing old wounds, reclaiming the pieces of yourself that were scattered in the past. And while the world may not have seen the depths of your transformation, your soul has. Your ancestors have. The universe has. That silence wasn't emptiness, it was gestation, a divine incubation of everything you are becoming. While others were busy being visible, you were becoming unshakable. And now that you're emerging, your fire isn't just emotional, it's intentional, it's focused, it's unstoppable. People think they know your story, but they only know the parts you allowed them to see. They don't know what it cost you to keep going. The nights you cried into your pillow but woke up smiling anyway. The times you stood up for others even while you were breaking. The decisions you made alone, in silence, with trembling hands but an unshaken spirit. That's the kind of fire they don't teach. They don't talk about. But that's the fire that reshapes lives. That's the fire that makes you chosen. There is a sacred madness in you, a divine rebellion. You're not here to be neutral. You're not here to play it safe. You're here to dismantle what no longer serves humanity, to question everything, to break molds, to tear down the comfortable lies so the truth can finally breathe. And yes, that makes people uncomfortable. But fire isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to be catalytic. You're not a flicker in the wind. You're a roaring declaration that something new is arriving. Something freer, truer, more alive. Or alive, NDO. You know what happens when someone tries to cage fire? It grows restless. It starts looking for cracks in the system. It expands, stretches, burns through the walls. That's you. Every time someone tried to contain you, you expanded beyond them. Every time they labeled you, you outgrew their definitions. You weren't meant to be defined by others. You are the definition. You are the beginning of something new. And the more they try to compress you, the more explosive your release becomes. You've likely been misunderstood for most of your life, labeled too much, too intense, too emotional. But that's only because others have settled for a version of life that's numb. You, on the other hand, feel everything deeply. You carry the frequency of truth. You cry when others laugh, and you laugh when others fear. Your rhythm is different. Your wavelength is higher. That doesn't make you wrong. It makes you rare. Rare and radiant. And now is not the time to question your power. It's time to embody it. NTHE, era of hiding, is over. You've tried that. It didn't work. You shrank, you silenced yourself, you dimmed your brilliance, and it only made you feel further away from who you really are. So now you return, not as a version of yourself, but as the original, the real, the full embodiment of your soul's blueprint. People will say you've changed, but the truth is, you've just returned to your core. You've peeled away the conditioning. You've burned off the masks. And what's left is the untamed, undeniable essence of who you've always been. You are not here to be controlled by fear. You've danced with your demons, looked them in the eye, and realized they were only shadows of your unclaimed power. Now you reclaim it all. The fire, the voice, the truth. You don't flinch anymore when the world tells you to tone it down. You've learned that your fire is your compass, that when it burns, it's trying to tell you something. It's not chaos, it's communication. a divine signal that something in your life is either aligning or misaligned, and now you listen to it like a sacred drumbeat. You follow its rhythm, you trust its language, and when you step into a room, your energy speaks before your words do. You light up spaces with your presence. You shift timelines just by walking in your truth, and those who are meant to meet you at this frequency will rise to it. The rest will fall away, and that's okay. You're not here to carry everyone, you're here to be a beacon, to blaze a trail so others know what's possible when you stop hiding, stop fearing, and start burning without shame. Let them talk, let them question, let them misunderstand. You're not here for their validation, you're here for the mission, the calling, the internal knowing that won't let you settle for mediocrity. You've tried living in half light, it suffocated you. Now you're choosing full fire, full authenticity, full presence, and that decision changes everything. You are no longer the version of yourself that tolerates disrespect, that compromises to avoid conflict, that trades peace for approval. You've tasted the freedom that comes from owning your truth, and now nothing else will satisfy. You're on a soul-level journey now, one that doesn't answer to logic, fear, or convention. And your flame? It answers only to truth, to love, to your soul's alignment. That's what makes you dangerous to systems built on silence. You've grown used to walking alone, haven't you? Used to being the one who sees the vision before anyone else does, the one who believes in the unseen, who moves even when there's no applause, who holds the vision through chaos and confusion. That isn't a weakness. It's your calling. Most people wait for permission. You were built to lead without it, because something inside you knows that if you wait for validation, your fire will dim in the silence of others' fear. And that's not the life your soul signed up for. You don't follow footsteps, you make them. You're not waiting for someone to point the way, you are the way. You're forging new terrain, creating new templates, becoming the blueprint that future generations will study. That's why your path has felt so unfamiliar, because you're not walking someone else's road, you're building yours in real time, and that's not easy, but it's sacred. It's what you were born to do. That's what they never understood about you. You weren't lost, you were pioneering. There have been moments where you questioned it all, wondered if the sacrifices were worth it, if the isolation was a sign you were on the wrong path. But chosen one, isolation was never a punishment. It was the fire forging your clarity. The silence was a sacred space where you reconnected with yourself, with your why. And that why is louder now than any noise around you. It reminds you that the fire you carry isn't for you alone, it's for the world. For the people who still live in cages you've already broken free from. NNOT. Everyone will clap for you. Not everyone will support your light. Some will envy it. Some will mock it. Others will try to take credit for it. But none of that can stop what's already written. You are not dependent on their belief. You are lit by something no one can touch. And that source? It doesn't flicker under pressure. It expands. The more resistance you face, the brighter you burn. You've been tried by fire and proven worthy of your own flame. Don't waste energy proving yourself. Don't dilute your truth to be digestible. Those who are meant to rise with you will see you clearly, not through the lens of their fears or projections, but through the truth of your essence. They'll feel your frequency and recognize your flame, and when that happens, something powerful ignites, a chain reaction of awakening. That's why your fire matters, not for the noise it makes, but for the light it spreads. This isn't about revenge. You're not here to prove your worth to those who overlooked you. You're here to be the living reminder that truth always survives, that authenticity always finds its way, that no matter how long they try to suppress the light, it will always rise. You are that light. You are that wild flame. You are that force that refuses to be tamed. You've entered the phase where you no longer need to explain yourself. Your energy speaks for you. Your presence communicates what words can't. You radiate certainty now, not from ego, but from alignment. You're not louder because you want attention. You're louder because your voice is finally coming from your soul, not your survival. And that kind of voice, it shakes foundations. There's nothing left to hold back. The world needs you in full expression, in full radiance, in full fire. You are a mirror for others to see what it looks like when someone chooses self-trust over people-pleasing, when someone lets go of expectations and embraces their destiny. That reflection alone can trigger transformation in others. You don't even have to speak. You just have to show up fully. And the right people will remember who they are, simply by watching you be who you are. Don't let the scars fool you. They are not symbols of defeat. They're maps of everything you've overcome. Every betrayal carved clarity. Every closed door redirected you to something better. Every false friend revealed your true strength. You're not just surviving. You're thriving in the very places you once thought would break you. That's the beauty of the wild flame. It doesn't just endure. It evolves. It adapts. It consumes the past and transforms it into fuel. Now, you walk with a kind of grace that wasn't born from ease, but from experience. You don't just talk about healing, you live it. You don't just talk about purpose, you breathe it. Your fire has become something more than light. It's become language, a language that only those awake enough will understand. And when they do, they'll be forever changed. Your fire is now a legacy, not just for those watching you now, but for those who come after. The children who will grow up freer because you chose truth over comfort. The dreamers who will leap because they saw you fly. The souls who will wake up because they felt your frequency ripple through time. This is bigger than you, always has been. You were chosen not just to burn, you were chosen to blaze a new way. There's something undeniably powerful about the moment a chosen one stops asking, "Why me?" and begins to declare, "Of course me." That shift isn't about arrogance, it's about ownership, about stepping fully into the understanding that everything you've endured, every lesson, every trial, every moment you thought you wouldn't survive was preparing you to lead from the front. The world didn't break you, it revealed you. And now that you've seen who you are, you'll never unsee it. You didn't come here to play small. That discomfort you feel when you dim your light, that's your soul resisting suppression. Every time you shrink to appease someone else's comfort zone, a part of you dims. But every time you say no to what dishonors your truth, you burn a little brighter. That's the cycle. That's the awakening. Fire is your native language. You don't just survive pressure, you alchemize it. People who once thought they had power over you are starting to feel your energy shift. You're not reacting like you used to. You're not explaining yourself anymore. You're not looking for acceptance. You're rooted in your essence. That calm, that stillness, it's not weakness. It's the still center of the firestorm. It's presence. It's divine certainty. You are no longer dancing for their applause. You're aligned with a rhythm that only your soul can hear. NTHE ones who tried to dim your light. Maybe they laughed at your dreams. Maybe they spread doubt, tried to shame you, discredit you, or leave you out of conversations. But now they can't deny your presence. Because a wild flame doesn't need permission to shine. It simply does. And eventually, even those who mocked you will have to admit, you are uncontainable, you are untouchable, you are undeniable, You're learning that your boundaries are sacred, that not everyone deserves access to your energy, that your fire is not for everyone, and it never was. It was meant for those who see it and rise, who don't fear your intensity, but feel inspired by it. You're not here to dim yourself to soothe their shadows. You're here to stand tall, burn bright, and illuminate what's possible when someone honors who they really are. Then look how far you've come. You've shed the weight of expectations that never belonged to you. You've released identities that were handed to you before you even had a voice. Now your voice is a frequency that cuts through the noise. People feel your authenticity without needing you to explain it. Your presence is no longer about being understood. It's about being felt, seen, remembered. You are becoming someone others look to, not because you ask them to, but because your fire is magnetic. It's healing. It's awakening. When others are unsure of themselves, they remember how freely you stand in your truth. And that remembrance is a gift you give without even trying. That's what makes you dangerous to systems that thrive on fear. You are a living example that freedom is possible. NBUT freedom requires loss. Loss of approval, loss of illusions, loss of identities you outgrew. And that's what makes this journey so lonely at times. You had to let go of people who loved the version of you that stayed small. You had to release situations that offered comfort but suffocated your evolution. You had to walk through fire after fire, not knowing if you'd make it out whole. But you did. And not only did you survive, you emerged, transformed. You don't carry bitterness. You carry wisdom. You don't need revenge. You have vision. You're not looking back with regret. You're looking forward with purpose. Everything they took from you has been restored in power. Everything they said you'd never be has already begun to manifest. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to keep showing up as the most authentic, fire-lit version of you. Now, you're unstoppable, not because you've never been hurt, but because you've learned how to rise. Not because you've never failed, but because you never let failure define you. Your fire is not perfect, it's real. And in a world full of imitation, realness is radical. It disrupts, it transforms, it heals. NTHE world is watching now, watching how you move, how you speak, how you show up. And you're not here to impress them, you're here to liberate them by being fully, wildly, unapologetically yourself. That's your mission, that's your revolution, that's your legacy. Let them stare, let them whisper, let them copy. But never let them convince you to dim what was born, to set others free. You are the answer to someone's silent prayer, the reminder someone needed, the spark that sets off their awakening. And that's why you were never allowed to give up. The world has been waiting for your fire, not the version you diluted to be liked, but the full, roaring, all-in version of you that never needed anyone's permission to shine. This is your emergence. Not a beginning, not a return, an arrival. After everything you've faced, after every attempt to silence you, you've arrived as your full self, and the world will feel it. You're no longer trying to convince anyone of your worth. You're no longer dimming to protect others from your radiance. You're no longer hiding the parts of you that don't fit the mold. Because you were never meant to fit, you were meant to lead. And now, the flame you've kept alive through all the storms is rising into its full expression. You have become the embodiment of what can't be destroyed. The living proof that a soul on fire cannot be contained. People will feel your energy before you enter a room. Your essence will linger long after you leave. You are unforgettable, not because you tried to be, but because you allowed yourself to burn with the truth. And truth leaves a mark. It creates ripples. It lights the dormant sparks in others. That's your true power. Not that you shine, but that you awaken. NNO1 sees the hours you spent in the dark, searching for meaning, healing wounds, questioning everything. No one sees the tears you wiped in silence, or the times you rebuilt yourself from pieces, but you know. Your soul knows. And now you wear that journey like sacred armor, not to protect you, but to remind you of what you've overcome. You are resilient by design. Every scar is a symbol of endurance, every bruise a testimony of rebirth. And now, you are not surviving. You're setting the tone. Chosen one, your life is no longer about proving. It's about embodying. You've moved beyond trying to be understood. You've stepped into a realm where your frequency speaks louder than words ever could. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to explain your decisions, your path, your fire. The right ones feel it. The right ones are drawn to it. The right ones will rise beside you. There will be people who see your light and remember their own. And there will be others who see your light and retreat into fear. You are not responsible for their choice. You're responsible for staying lit, for keeping your flame alive, for honoring the fire that has carried you this far. The world doesn't need more conformity. It needs your courage, your presence, your refusal to play small. There was a time you thought being chosen meant being loved by everyone. Now you know better. Being chosen means being forged in isolation. It means walking paths others avoid. It means carrying a vision that others can't see until you build it. You've done the work. You've faced the mirror. You've stood in your own ashes and still believed in the rise. That's not weakness. That's divine audacity. That's the kind of strength that sets legacies into motion. NTHE old version of you, the one who doubted, who feared, who waited, is gone. You've stepped into something wilder, truer, more whole. The version of you that leads, that listens to soul over logic, that burns through every limitation. That version doesn't apologize. That version doesn't explain. That version simply becomes. And by becoming, they change everything. They let them talk. Let them project. Let them fall away. You're not here to be everything to everyone. You're here to be fully you, fiercely, completely, radically. And in doing that, you make space for others to do the same. That's your fire. That's your movement. That's your medicine. This journey isn't over. You're only just beginning to see what happens when you live as the wild flame you were always meant to be. The world hasn't seen your full light yet, but it will. The people meant for you, they're watching, waiting, listening. Your energy is calling them in. Your truth is guiding them home. They're not following you. They're awakening because of you. And that's more powerful than any spotlight could ever be. NSO, keep burning, keep rising, keep being everything they said you couldn't be. Not out of spite, but out of sovereignty, out of alignment, out of pure, unfiltered truth. Because when you stand in that truth, you don't just light the way. You are the way. They tried to dim your fire, chosen one. But you're a wild flame. You always were. You always will be.